My name is Scarlett Martin. I'm a paramedic with Toronto EMS. For the last 23 years, I've served in Toronto. I've loved my job and I love serving the city. I was suspended on Monday and I faced termination on December 13th. Just prior to the pandemic, I was awarded an exemplary service medal for my service to the city. Chances are, I've had the honor of saving somebody that you know in the city. The pandemic has been very difficult on all first responders. And like many of them, I had COVID, and I've tested positive for antibodies for COVID. I want to assure you that I was not placing anybody at risk by continuing to respond to emergency calls. In addition to having immunity, I always followed and continue to follow PPE protocols. There's a greater risk to human life in the city of having no ambulances to send due to downstaffing of paramedics than there is having a small percentage of paramedics not vaccinated. We already experience periods in the city that we are stacking calls and there's no ambulances to send. If your heart stops, or we call it cardiac arrest, your brain tissue and your organs, that tissue, it starts to die within 6 to 8 minutes. So ideally we want to get there as quick as we can to give you the best chance of being resuscitated successfully. So the less staff there is, the less ambulances there is, the greater the response time to these calls are. Suspending and terminating employees will only make this problem worse. Medical choice should not lead to unemployment, and it should not result in the inability of EMS to respond to a life in need. The Chief Medical Officer of Health has recognized natural immunity as being protective. So what is the sense in firing me and rendering Toronto EMS incapable of doing their job well? My few last shifts were the first weekend of November. There were several instances on a night shift there was 0 available ambulances. That means 0 when you call 911. So it's scary for us because our calls are prioritized. We always try to get the closest appropriate ambulance out to the closest call. I asked Doug Ford and John Tory to let me and many of my colleagues get back to work on the ambulance doing what we love.